So you want to create something like this dragon that I have here, and you don't know where to start. The steps are actually very, very simple, simpler than you think. If you want to know the full workflow, stick around, but here are the basics. Use the move brushes to adjust the volume so that they feel part of the same and get something more interesting going. To polish the surface, use the clay brushes and the smooth brushes to keep everything clean, and then you can use something like custom brushes to start adding details, but treat them like levels. Larger details first, then smaller details, and then finally add some high-frequency details. You can use Polypaint and the masking features to add some color to your character before you export everything as an FBX. Then you load up the mesh into something like Marmoset Toolbag 5, set up a key light, and then add any extra lights to support the shot or support the main light that you have set up, hit render, and that's it. Hey, what's up guys, Paulo Munoz here. In today's video, I'm gonna share a simple but effective workflow to produce concept like this dragon head that you see here on the screen. I'm gonna be using my pack of custom brushes for scales that you can find in the store or in the resources of the Pablander Academy, but the steps that I'm gonna share in this workflow are applicable to anything, whether you use custom brushes or this pack of brushes or nothing at all. All right, so let's go ahead and start with this quick dragon sketch. I'm going to block it out with a very simple geometry. This might look too basic, but it's one of those techniques that gives me consistent result and make it a lot easier to judge proportions and volumes. We're gonna start with a sphere for the head, then I'm gonna stretch out a cylinder for the neck, and I love using the gizmo deformers, especially for these sort of tube shapes, and it's very easy. So I'm gonna use the bend curve, which works great. It gives me this point that I can push and pull and adjust very easily. And if you click on any of these orange points, the control points, you can even scale them individually and basically change the proportion of each section. For the rest of the head, you can use any geometry that you want. I went with the squash cylinder just to get something rounded for kind of like a flat base for the head, then duplicated and tweaked it a little bit for the jaw of this dragon. Another great blocking technique is using the curved tubes brush to add volume. Just make sure that you go to the picker palette and set it to continue Z in the depth section so that it basically follows the surface of any volume that you have visible in ZBrush. I use that to break up the neck silhouette a little bit so it's not just a straight tube. And at this stage, everything's still kind of like separate objects or separate subtools, which is perfect. But when you're ready to push proportions and silhouette, I like to merge everything into a single one object. That way you can start using the move brush a little bit more freely to affect everything and, like I said, change the silhouette and make the proportions a bit more interesting. And what's really nice is that since the individual objects are still there, you can isolate them using the selection tools and maybe mask sections and so on and so forth. Or even better, you can use the move topological brush, which respects the continuity of the topology of those individual pieces. Now, you've seen that I'm spending a little bit of time in this phase of the process, and this is where people rush into detail. But if you get this stage right, if you get the proportions, the primary shapes in working fine at this stage, everything else becomes much easier, whether or not you use custom detailing brushes or not. So for the teeth of the dragon, I use a cylinder and shaped it a little bit to resemble kind of like a fang or a dragon tooth. And I use the taper deformer and the bend arc from the gizmo. You can also assign a quick Polypaint color to get a kind of like a better read of the forms and start establishing a palette that you can follow later on. Then just duplicated the fang or the tooth of this dragon using the control and drag using the gizmo. And this is basically more of the same, just vary the scale, adjust the shape of each one of these smaller elements, and then mirror and weld them to the other side. Once the primary volumes are in place, we can move on into the sculpting stage and start making everything feel unified or a single object. I split the head from the neck just to work a bit more comfortably, and it kind of like forms a natural breakup line, so it is not very visible. Then I dynameshed everything at a reasonable resolution. Which, by the way, a reasonable resolution for me is low enough that I can easily manipulate the volumes really quickly, but high enough that I don't see the faceted polygons from the distance. That's kind of like a personal rule that sort of like helps me define what is a good resolution when working with Dynamesh. From here, it's all about transitions, blending shapes together, and try to limit your brushes or the amount of brushes that you use at this stage and focus on just doing the manual work. And I'm mostly using the clay brushes and the smoothing brushes just to keep everything clean. For the eyes, I just use the append macro, which is a macro that comes with ZBrush. It's just a quick way to drop in a couple of black spheres with a basic toy material. And I like doing this because it is just easy and, you know, it gives me like a visual anchor point so that I can work the rest of the, let's say, the volumes and proportions around the eyes. Now I'm going to bring in a custom VDM brush or vector displacement map brush from the scales pack. This comes with heaps of different scales, so it's a lot of fun. And I'm not gonna use this to add detail yet, but it helps me establish kind of like the secondary forms or those larger spikes on this dragon. And the nice thing about VDMs is that they're great for sketching too. So same idea as before, just add, smooth, and integrate. Next, we're gonna move into subdivision levels. That way we can keep a clean base and add details a lot easier. I'm gonna save a point right now in the timeline and then run the ZRemesher. And after subdividing each mesh, I projected from that history point that I saved before to bring back the details or bring back the sketch that we've been refining. And if you're not familiar with this workflow or this particular step of this process, I've got some other tutorials in the channel that cover that and cover the entire workflow, so go ahead and check those out. And now that we have a cleaner base and subdivision levels, we can start exploring details. I don't have a specific design in mind here. I'm just kind of like testing ideas. But what I would say, or at least recommend if you use custom brushes like this, is to focus on larger details first. Kind of like what I mentioned at the beginning in terms of the different levels. So you do the larger set of details first, then the secondary details, and then the tertiary, which in most cases is just surface noise to make it a little bit more interesting. And the reason behind it is that you can start with larger details since they define kind of like the flow and readability of the design. And here's a really cool trick if you use this type of vector displacement maps. If you store a history state in your undo history before you add any detail, you can use a feature in ZBrush called the mask by change points. This allows you to isolate only the new areas that you change. It's a huge time saver. This also helps you prevent overlapping with other areas or other large details with the VDMs since the rest is masked out already. And here's another cool thing. You can actually use the mask change points after every new stroke that you add. I also included brushes in the pack to help you kind of like guide the flow of details like these torn crevices or the, actually a better one for these would be the Fold Cutter Superflow. They work very similarly to the damp standard brush, but it gives you kind of like more variations and subtle interconnecting lines as you draw them. So it kind of like suggests the irregularity of a dragon skin or a reptile skin. For manual detailing, brushes like the Strong Step Scale will help you to speed things up a little bit as well. And if you want to smooth things out, but actually keep the details in the crevice, the Smooth Peaks brush that again comes with ZBrush is your best option. Around the eyes of this dragon, I use the Capsule Ridge to create a bit of a pattern, and then I refine that with the damp standard brush. The rest of this process is just controlled noise, adding variation without overdoing it. The balance in this stage is key, and honestly, it's harder than it sounds. So don't beat yourself up if when you finish with your details, things don't look right. Just make sure that you keep track of the different levels in your details. So larger details, medium details, and small high-frequency details. Now, here's something very important, manual refinement. This is where a lot of people who use custom brushes or alphas just for detailing will skip. Brushes like these or custom packs of brushes will give you a great starting point, but you still need to go in and clean things up. Just like integrating the forms or the shapes from the blockout stage, details are no different. They need to feel part of the whole thing. So I like to use the standard brush to build volume and the damp standard brush to sharpen and define things like folds of skin or wrinkly areas. And again, just make sure that whatever details I added feel connected or feel part of the same. And what I like to do as well is capitalize on those kind of like mistakes or suggestions that the custom brush or the effects of the brush give me so that, again, I can push a crevice a little bit more or increase the volume with the standard brush just so that it feels more part of the whole thing. All right, let's move on into texturing with a quick Polypaint pass. I approach the Polypaint or texturing in ZBrush the same way that I do with sculpting. Block out first. So with painting or with Polypaint, I block out the large color first. Then I do kind of like mid-level or large variations before I go into smaller patches of color. So in this case, I started with a light brown color, then used the ambient occlusion masking to darken the occluded areas. And the AO or ambient occlusion mask comes from an official ZBrush plugin that has been there for a while, and it's a great way to quickly add depth to your colors. Then it's just a matter of reusing masking tools, invert mask, shift colors, build gradients. For instance, you can use something like the mask by smoothness or the curvature to generate variations or kind of like a random mask and just variate the colors based on that mask. But instead of painting everything manually when you have a custom mask, I usually go to the adjust colors from the Polypaint palette and tweak contrast and brightness from the RGB channels. You can do it by channel individually or all together. And this gives you a fast and interesting variation of color across the surface of your model. especially when you use it in combination with other type of mask like the mask by peaks or the valleys and smoothness. Those two are my favorite ones. For the eyes, things are a little bit different, not so many masks, but the idea is the same. Base color, then I do the iris with a brighter kind of like orange-red color, then refine with smaller brushes. Again, nothing fancy, purely manual painting. All right, so now let's move on into rendering now that I'm happy with the overall look and shapes and color of my dragon. So I exported the mesh as an FBX and opened it in Marmoset Toolbag 5. And yes, I know what you might be thinking. It is a high poly mesh, around 8 million polygons for all the subtools together. But for a quick sketch like this, it's totally fine, and on a decent machine or a decent PC, Marmoset will handle millions of polygons with no issue. So in Marmoset, the first thing I like to do is change the HDR image and set a darker background just to keep things focused on the dragon in this case. I also switch to the ray tracing in the rendering tab just to get a real render quality. And since I think this concept works a little bit better vertically, I set the vertical layout in the camera and split the view so that I can basically frame the render properly on one side and then work with the lights and everything else on the other side. To bring in the Polypaint from ZBrush, all you have to do is select the material of any of your meshes and just go to the albedo and switch to vertex color. That's it. That's all you need to do. Now, another important thing that you might want to do is tweak the scale of your scene, because when you bring things from ZBrush, it might not be the ideal scale for rendering in Marmoset. So you can just go to the scene tab and change the scale from there. I also changed the subsurface scattering and a couple of things in the material, like the roughness, just to get a better look on the material. All right, and for lighting, I'll keep it very, very simple. The HDR image already gives me a very good base for the ambient light, so I just added a simple key light using a spotlight. Now, a really handy tip here in Marmoset to light up your scene is that you can actually switch your viewport to the light's perspective. So when you move the camera around the model, you're actually moving the light source, which makes the placement of, the light source super intuitive. You're literally seeing directly where the light source is in the space and what is actually hitting on your model. Then I replicate the same process, added a blue rim light from the back of the character just to separate the silhouette and the character from the background a little bit, and another slightly warmer rim light from the top left. Again, the same principle, just to separate the character from the background a bit. And that's pretty much it. I rendered this with a transparent background, brought it into Photoshop for a quick compositing. Again, nothing fancy here. I just added a simple gradient with a bit of the color from the rim lights. Again, some super simple stuff, but I think overall it enhances the way that you read this character and the presentation itself. I also tried a few variations of this dragon just for fun, and obviously to show you that this type of sketching technique is pretty efficient and you can get a lot of variations that look cool relatively quickly. Here's one with hair just for fun, and another one with some massive horns. By the way, the horns are actually from another custom brush pack, the Horns and Antlers pack. But if you want to make your own and you don't want to rely on a pack of brushes, I got a video on the channel covering actually 4 techniques to create horns in ZBrush, and it's actually a lot of fun. And if you want to go deeper into the Polypaint technique, there are a few videos in my channel, including one just to create eyes that will give you an idea, and then you can go and watch those and apply those principles to anything that you're making, whether it's a dragon or not. So hopefully this has been of help. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.